acting on it.
Can you explain a little bit what it means to manage your helplessness? I'd like to manage my helplessness a little better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's easier to explain as a parent.
Yeah.
We love these little beings, and when they get in trouble, I'll give an example with my daughter.
Yeah.
She came home one day from school, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, I don't recall. And one of the kids on the bus was pushing her around, cursing at her. She confided in me. I immediately got on the phone with the bus service, the principal of school, the kid's family, so on and so forth. And I said the next day, I took care of it. Here's what I did, trying to tell her how protective I was, that I heard her, that she said, Daddy, you embarrassed me. I told you because I wanted to tell you. I wanted to take care of it. That's a perfect example of me not managing my helplessness.
I think you hit the nail on the head for parents. It's so hard. And I think it seems to be harder now than it once was. There's a sense among many parents, and I would include myself, in feeling that we do have to make our children happy. And when they're not happy, we've failed them. I think it's a new sort of phenomenon. I don't remember my parents feeling that we had to be happy all the time. And I wonder where that came from. Do you have an explanation?
It's ourselves. It's always about us. I think life is done with mirrors, and that if we devote our lives to making our children happy, then there's something missing inside of us. That if we were at peace with who we were, then our children would be at peace with who they are. Over the last couple of years, I've spoken to maybe 2,000 children. Their primary complaint is stress.
Yeah.
But I went on to ask them, how many of you feel your parents live with great stress? Most of them inevitably raise their hand. And then I say, how many of you feel protective of your parents? Most raise their hand. And then I say, how many of you are working very hard so as not to add to your parents' stress? And there almost everyone raises their hand. So who's taking care of who?
But why is this happening now? I mean, I'm sure that there have been aspects of this throughout time, but it seems that this parenting, children parenting adults, seems more prevalent now than a generation ago. Why do you think that is?
The truth?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, but do you think I'm right that it's greater than it once was, or perhaps those of us who are parents always feel that it's greater?
Well, I can't tell if my perspective is that of a observant psychologist or a 58-year-old man, and
yeah.
during
at a certain point in his life,
during the parental grousing. I do think it's worse. I wrote an article in year 2000, right before 9/11, where I said I think we've got a national anxiety disorder, and we're all acting out of our anxiety.
Interesting.
But with all due respect, your question why is not the question I want to struggle with. I want to struggle with how. Because what goes on is we don't feel our anxiety. We don't feel our helplessness. We don't feel our vulnerability. We don't let ourselves. We act on it.
By act, you mean we act out.
Act out. We do something for our children, to our children. Worst comes to worst, we can answer our email again on the cell phone. We don't ever have to sit still with what we're really feeling, with the voice of our heart. And we don't tolerate emotions that cause us discomfort.
We sweep them under the rug. You had a column yesterday, in fact, in the Philadelphia Inquirer, your On Healing column, where you talk about children and stress and the busyness of their schedules, the sense of being overscheduled and so forth. Is this a common motif that you come across from callers, parents who want their children to succeed at all costs, and so have them involved in multiple activities and stress them to the point where perhaps they don't even understand what success is all about.
Parents push children to protect them, I think often, from their own anxiety. Our children are our future. And if our children are strong and stable and safe, then we will feel better about our lives.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's been, that's the way it should be. That's our evolutionary drive. But I think we've become misguided because the way to feel safe is to feel safe inside your skin. The way to feel as invulnerable as we can is to tolerate your own vulnerability, to tolerate your own anxiety, to know that you can tolerate it. That's strength. That's what we want. That's what I want for our children. That's what I want for all of us.
You speak it very eloquently. To shift gears a bit, perhaps to a more cheerful subject, I wonder if you're a fan of Frazier.
I like Frazier.
Yeah?
I
do you identify at all with that notion of a radio personality giving therapy over the radio in his particularly pithy way?
No, I don't.
I
don't
so.
identify with it, and I didn't want to like it.
Uh-huh. And you did despite yourself.
Yeah, I did. I liked it despite myself.
And why is that?
Well, I always liked Kelsey Grammer. I mean, I liked him from Cheers. I mean, and he's a pseudo-intellectual, and he's bumbling, and he doesn't pretend he's not bumbling. I mean, he's every human. I mean, we are all bumbling, and we all try to fake it and look better than we feel inside. I mean, that's why we love clowns, you know?
Yeah.
We are.
So it's the clownishness of the show in a way that appeals to you.
Yeah, both brothers. I mean, they're just wonderful.
Yeah, I agree with you. Can you recall a favorite radio program of your own, a favorite topic where things, you seem to have touched on something perhaps greater than you expected, where you were able to speak perhaps with a guest and with callers about the fundamentally important things in life in the way that you wanted to?
You're asking access to my memory, which
in
works.
Recent memory, how's
Yeah,
that?
well,
Okay, last few shows?
My memory works just a little bit better than my legs.
Okay.
I'll tell you about an interview I just concluded.
Okay.
And not just because I just concluded it, and that's the only one I can remember, but because it was so moving. I just interviewed Betty Williams, who won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1976 for her work in Northern Ireland. And she's devoted the rest of her life to helping children around the world. She's got actually 3 countries that are creating safe cities for children. What she did in Northern Ireland was organized a band of women, mothers, to change things there. They took some of their finest Irish linens. I mean, the poverty over there, the unemployment over there was sky high. They took some of their finest Irish linens, some of these mothers, over to Germany. They got orders for thousands and thousands of pieces of linens. They brought the orders back. Now they needed somebody to create these linens. So they had to rebuild the factories. They had the jobs, they had the work, they had the money, and she insisted the only way, and so she hired some men. One group said, we won't work with Protestant, the other said, we won't work with Catholic, and she said, then none of you are going to work. Well, they worked it out. Yeah. And factories got rebuilt. With those assets, she went and brought in other work and other employment. She said, you can't just take a gun out of a man's hand, you got to replace it with something. And these mothers mothered Northern Ireland
that's a
back to
story.
health. Took my breath away.
That's wonderful.
And she's trying to do it with children. she's got to be close to 70, and she still is moved to tears by a child's story.
When will this air? I hope soon.
I don't know for sure, probably next month.
Do you find that you often have guests that inspire you and that you feel you can learn from? I know they're there usually for your audience, but do you often feel that you can derive strength from them as well?
Typically, yeah. I don't think in terms of strength,
Yeah.
Wisdom, information. What I shoot for is, what I want is what I give.
Why don't you like strength? Is it because strength is an unrealistic thing to
I don't like
aim
that
for?
continuum. It's feels distancing.
Uh-huh.
I don't like the strong, weak continuum. I think we are
Okay.
all both. When somebody calls me strong,
That implies someone else is weak, or that
it
you,
implies someone else is weak. It implies I'm different.
I see.
And I don't like being different. I'm not different. I refuse to be different. I'm Dan. You started the interview by talking about me as being the, I think, therapist. I'm Dan. Others can see me as however they want to.
That's
and
so
if they-
interesting, because I think your listeners respond on two levels. One is to you as one of them, and the other is a need that I think we all feel for some paternal or maternal figure that can give us the answers. And there's a constant struggle between those two forces.
To the extent that I have that in me, it is a blessing that is born of trauma, injury, loss, learning disability, and genetics. But none of those have to do with Dan Gottlieb. They're just events that I carry inside of me that gel in that particular way and wind up as a gift that enable people to get help. I feel honored that they're in there. Other than that, I'm Dan.
Well, Dan, I want to thank you for sharing your person with us and your
Thank
thoughts
you.
with us today at the
It's been
Drexel
delightful.
interview. And thank you for joining us today at the Drexel interview.